Matty Graham here from Exponential Performance Coaching. I've had a lot of questions about what gear did I use on the Tour of Aotearoa, the 3,000 kilometre self-supported mountain bike race that I did in February 2016. So what I thought I'd do is give you a bit of a rundown. So starting off with the bike, this is my full setup as I finished the race. You can see the bike is still dusty and dirty, hadn't even cleaned it at this stage. So this is exactly how I finished. It's a Giant XTC 29er running Maxxis Icon tyres on there. Tyres are amazing. I had a bit of an issue at the start with a problem with my valve, I think, in my tubeless setup where I had my rear tyre was flat just before the start. I put a tube in it and rode the tube all the way to Bluff, no dramas at all. The Icons are such a robust tyre. Find them so good, and even after 3,000 kilometers they've still got enough tread on them for me to be training on at the moment. So that's the setup. I use Revelate designed bike bags, and let's have a look at what was in them. So there's a bit of an overall view of the gear, everything that I took. What did I wear? I just wore standard cycling shorts from Ground Effect. Those are the Ground Effect ringleaders. I did find that the chamois started to wear a little bit, and I'll do another video about the Ground Effect ringleaders. They started to come to pieces a little bit, which did give me a little bit of a saddle sore. However, when I got back home, I sent them into Ground Effect, and actually they sent me a free pair of shorts to replace those ones, even with 3,000 kilometers of riding in them. Other than that, I took another pair of bike shorts, the Torpedo 7 shorts there. I did end up wearing 2 pairs of cycling shorts from about 3/4 of the way through. Just the standard cycle top, gloves. Those are the Ground Effect socks. I think they are called Foot Soldiers. And then some arm warmers, and then a Castelli vest. So nothing overly special, just sort of standard cycling kit. The shoes that I wore were the Tour Aotearoas. They are their all-mountain enduro type shoe, really good for walking but comfortable, and good transfer of power. I've also done a separate video on those that you can check out as well. Now helmet, I just have the Tour Aotearoa helmet, lightweight. This helmet's a few years old now, still does the job nicely. Might as well touch on my lighting system while we're here. On the back of my helmet I've just got a little cat eye light, as well as on the front that there is a lead lenser that runs on AAA batteries up the front there, and then I also had another lead lenser mounted to my handlebars that ran on AA batteries, and then another cat eye mounted to my chainstay. I was a little bit paranoid about getting run over riding in the dark on the main road, so I did have a little bit of extra red light happening at the back. And I was quite surprised, actually, a lot of the people that I was riding with, the ineffectiveness of their rear lights, considering we did so much on the open roads. It was something that I was very conscious about. My front lights, to be honest, they were underpowered. There were a number of times where I wished I had more light, and riding with a lot of guys that were using the Dynamo hubs, they were able to run a very strong lighting system, so definitely something that I'm considering upgrading to in the future. Now in my saddlebag down the back, I had waterproof over trousers. These weren't overly waterproof, they were just very lightweight, more to block the wind than anything. Ferry down rain jacket with a little bit of extra high-vis tape sewn to the back. Louis Garneau leg warmers, buff, skull cap, gloves, and first aid kit. In the first aid kit I had strips of rock tape that I'd pre-cut for knee problems, and that's these ones up the top here, to taping the knee across if you were getting patella issues, and also pre-cut for Achilles issues. So I consulted with my physio, and they recommended that I take these, they show me how to use them, so that if anything did crop up, I was able to tape myself up and hopefully prevent any issues. Now in my frame bag, the bottom section of my frame bag, I had my toolkit, a couple of tubes, brush, spare derailleur hanger, a couple of cable ties, a few different bolts, chain links, rock and roll lube. I find this is the most amazing chain lube that there is. A bit of a rag and a pump, nothing overly special in there. And then in the top section, sunscreen. I did start off with just having Sweet Cheeks butt butter in the little white container there. I ran out about just over halfway through. Probably should have taken more, and I stopped in and brought a jar of Vaseline that didn't quite do the job that I liked, but it was good enough. And then a little bag with some no-dose tablets, paracetamol, that sort of thing. Also water purification tablets. Phone that I left switched off most of the time, only turning it on a couple of times to check text messages and checking at home. Some spare batteries, I carried a lot of spare batteries in there, and then some ankle reflectors for nighttime riding as well. I also kept food, lollies, that sort of thing in that middle frame bag as well. Revlate Design gas tank, this was up the front, and this largely contained sort of high usage items, I guess. iPod that I only really got one battery life out of because I didn't really take any charging devices. Camera, noon tablets, chewing gum, lip balm, and I took some Bonjela. This is stuff that you use with children when they're teething on their gums to sort of numb their gums so they're not in as much pain. This is something that I thought about taking when my daughter was younger and we were using it. I thought I've experienced quite bad mouth ulcers in the past during these type of events, so I thought if I took some Bonjela it would help ease the pain of the mouth ulcers. I didn't actually use it at all, but definitely was nice to have it there in case of. I also just carried lots of bits of food and the likes in this gas tank. I took 3 drink bottles, 3 water bottles. One of them was housed in the mountain feeder bag. The other mountain feeder bag was used for food, bits and pieces. Often chucked my arm warmers, that sort of things in them. I had 1 drink bottle on my top tube and the other one on my down tube. I did lose a drink bottle quite early on actually, second day. Lost it, bounced out, and from then on I just used like a Powerade bottle or a Coke bottle or just whatever I was buying at the shop. I didn't lose another drink bottle ever again, so it was sort of strange that it did bounce out, but I was easily able to make up with it with something from the shop. The GPS that I used, you can see it there, was quite a big beast. It's just what I had at home. A lot of the stuff that I did use was just what I had, using what you've got, doing what you can with what you've got sort of thing. I didn't invest a lot of money into equipment, and this is just a Garmin Maps. I can't remember what the number on it is, but yeah, it did the job nicely. Sleeping system up the front. I started off with my gear in this yellow Cedar Summit bag. However, one morning when I was packing up my gear, it completely ripped. Luckily I was carrying another dry bag in my saddle bag, so I was able to use that. It wasn't quite the right dimensions. I did buy a Revlate Design dry bag for my front harness system, but decided not to use it because I was able to get everything into this smaller, more compact dry bag. In hindsight, it probably wasn't the right choice, but I got through it anyways. So my sleeping system was a Mountain Equipment bivy bag and the Mountain Equipment Helium 400. Definitely a little bit overgeared in the sleeping bag department, slightly bigger than a lot of what other people were carrying. However, I did like having that extra warmth, and because I was just in a bivy bag, it was nice to have that extra warmth there. I was never cold, and my sleeping bag was quite damp just from all the condensation. In that front loader, I also had a nano down jacket, thermal top, toothbrush, toothpaste, and some vitamins that I would take before I went to bed. And I'll do a little bit of an extra video on what vitamins I took and why I took them. Finally, I had the Revlate Design front pouch, and all I carried in there was a couple of chargers and cords and some toilet paper. In hindsight, I probably wouldn't take this pouch again. At one stage I did load it up with a bit of food when I had brought way too much, and I found that it was just heavy. It loaded up the front more, it just wasn't a great fit, so I probably would leave that at home. The grips on the handlebars were ESI grips, and then I added extra bar tape to make a nice comfortable grip, and I also had the giant bar ends on there. I also mounted a set of T2 aero bars. These were really good. I spent a lot of time down on the aero bars, so they come highly recommended. In general, that's the setup that I used. Nothing overly special, and it pretty much is using what I had at home. I didn't invest a lot of money into specialist lightweight gear that I probably could have, and that was just the decision I had. I used the bike that I had. I used the wet weather gear that I had, the sleeping system that I had at home. So you don't have to invest lots and lots into specialist equipment just for the event. Get out there, do what you can with what you've got. If you've got any questions, feel free to post a comment below. It'll be interesting to see what other people took as well. Also, check out this other video, the equipment that I would not take on the tour. Again, the stuff that I'll leave behind next time. There was a bit of it, so check that out.